anything
Oh,
special?
no, not eating, just, you know.
Okay,
No, I don't
so
eat.
you see her,
I don't eat, that's why I've got a.
how she look?
Mm-hmm.
She look
Oh, they
okay?
said you should have.
Is it crooked though?
It looks a little,
No,
it's
no.
a little
No,
crooked
yeah.
this way.
Yeah, I don't do that, like
Hang on.
that part.
There we go.
Like that.
Like that.
So is that okay? Oh, you got it?
You just needed to go that way.
All right, so I think it should be recording now, so just hit that when it's done, and then press it again when we start, so we're good.
Yes, I know.
All right, hang on.
We need to sing, come on, y'all.
One day when I was lost,
That's right.
he died
upon
the cross.
I know it was the blood for me.
Yeah, right.
Amen.
Amen.
The distorted image. I'll be reading from Genesis 1:27. God created human beings. God created them God-like, reflecting God's nature. God created humanity. Message translation. The morning of August the 9th, 2014, is etched in the mind of many Americans. What appeared to be an ordinary day turned chaotic and confusing in a matter of minutes, in just 3 minutes. Decisions made in a split second changed the trajectory of a child, a police officer, a mother and father, 2 sisters, a community, and a nation. These people
Yeah.
who, if they only could have peeked into their future, would have done some things differently. But we don't have a chance or an opportunity to stop, rewind the clock, or replay the script. However, in life, we move forward in life, reconfiguring and picking up the pieces along the way.
Yes.
Now the events of that day played out on national news. What captured the attention of the viewers was this image. This image of a black body laid out in the middle of the street, in the middle of the day, in the middle of a community
All right.
for all to see.
Yeah.
For a moment, time stood still
Yeah.
for the citizens of Ferguson, Missouri. Embedded in the minds of the viewers was this image of a black person in the middle of the street, in the middle of the day, in the middle of the community, with life-sustaining blood flowing from the bullet holes that pierced Michael Brown Jr., young black body. On hearing the news, many family members rushed to the scene, but all they were allowed to see was this distorted, lifeless image of a person, of a son, of a mother's child,
Well,
of a brother.
yes.
As his mother screamed out in anguish at the distorted image of her 18-year-old son, his lifeless body stretched out on a hot pavement for all to see, with his arms to the right, his arms to the left, and his feet crossed at his ankles,
I see it. Preacher.
and his head face down on the pavement. I am sure that the next image that flashed in this mother's mind was the birth of her bouncing baby boy. His first tooth, his first word, his first step, his first Christmas, his first Easter, his first day of school,
Yeah.
and lastly, his high school graduation. But as reality set in, there was no images of a college graduation, his wedding day,
My God.
his first child, the family dinners, and no more spending time together.
My God.
Those images faded into the reality of the moment. As conflicting stories were reported, many all over the world looked on in disbelief. How can these occurrences of events happen again and again so soon? A few questions might be in your mind, as it was with me. Why to some does it appear that innocent young black lives are carelessly put out with no forethought, nor truth, nor consequences? How can this mother move forward with the last image she has of her precious baby boy is a distortion of the reality of his life? He was a kid that hung out with his friends, went to school every day, and he was planning his future. As time moved on, this community was devastated. How long?
How long?
How long? And how they let Michael Brown Jr. body lay there for all to see, with the sun beaming down on his lifeless body, while investigators poked, pushed, pulled, touched, took pictures, got evidence, and sorted through his earthly treasures. I guess Michael received no dignity in life, so death was not going to be any different. If Michael Brown Jr. could speak, I think Michael would say, let them see me. Let them see what society can do to the image of a black child.
My God.
Don't cover me up. We have been covered up much too long. My black image goes deeper than what you can see. Now, this was not the first time this happened. These are the same words spoken in 1955 by Emmett Till's mother, when her 14-year-old son was brutally beaten, thrown in the water, and left for dead. She said, let the world see what they did to my son. She wanted the world to see the distortion of a human life. A picture is worth a million words. This image will remain in the mind as a symbol of how destructive racism and police brutality is in the lives of black Americans.
Yeah.
Our text for today tells us that God created human beings. God created them God-like, reflecting God's nature.
That's the record.
God created humanity, bringing us to the beginning of creation when humanity first came into existence. Because humanity was the last to do on God's list, does not mean that we were an afterthought.
All right.
After God had completed the magnificent work of creation, after God had prepared and arranged the Garden of Eden with the flowers, the trees, the birds of the air, the fish of the sea, the moon and the stars, our light by night, the sun, our light and warmth for the day, and all of the different species of the animal kingdom, God took a step back and made humanity in God's image. Now we are created with the potentials and the capacity to reflect the divine attributes of God. With all that God created, nothing was made in God's image but humanity. Everything that God made was not just good, but very good. Because humanity was made in the image of the living God. We are the Spirit of God manifested in the flesh. But we're more than that. We reflect back to God's own image of justice, grace, love, forgiveness, and mercy. We mirror God's divine attributes, and we reflect God's essence. So what does that mean for
What
us?
does that mean?
What does it mean?
We are agents of God.
All right.
We are the crown of God's handiwork.
Yes.
God looked upon creation and God said, everything is good
Yeah.
and very good.
Yeah.
And God completed God's work.
Mm.
We were made not to live only in fellowship with God, but in fellowship with each other
That's right.
and with all of creation.
Yes.
No matter what race, creed, color, or sexual orientation.
Talk.
Come on,
Talk.
We were all told to be fruitful, to multiply, and to replenish the earth.
Yes.
We are all given dominion and are the caretakers of all
Yes.
of creation.
Yeah.
We are to live in peace and harmony. When God came into God and looked upon God's creation, God should see the image of God's self
Yeah.
in us. But we were also created with free will.
Yeah.
And with free will came the decision and the responsibility to obey or to disobey. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, in Where Do We Go From Here, says the image of God is universally shared in equal portions by all humanity. There is no greater scales of essential worth. Every human being has etched in their personality the indelible stamp of our Creator.
Yes.
Every person must be respected because God loves them.
Yes.
The worth of an individual does not lie in the measure of their intellect,
Yes.
their racial origin, or their social position.
That's right.
Human worth lies in the relationship to God. An individual have value because we have value in God.
That's right.
So I asked the rhetorical question, how can one image of God look at the other image of God
Yeah.
and think one is better than the other?
Help us. Well, help us.
All right now.
C.S. Lewis, in his letters to Malcolm, says, the heinousness of sin is to remember that every sin is a distortion of an enemy breathed into us, an energy which, if not thus distorted, would have blossomed into the one and holy acts whereof God did it, I did it. God did it, I did it. The image of God was blurred and broken and could not be restored. There was no longer unity among God's people. There were feelings of superiority. And to feel superior, there has to be someone that was inferior. Today, black people are confronted with systems and institutions set up to oppress and keep us at the bottom of the socioeconomic charts. To be rich and well-to-do, there has to be someone who do not have anything or much. One group thought they were better than the next group. People were exploited, oppressed, enslaved, abused, and killed because someone else wanted to exercise their unalienable rights. It is out of these distorted systems that black people have distorted views of themselves.
Well,
Distorted views of themselves and each other. People were made in the image of God, was separated by skin color, intellect, where they live, their financial resources, who they were, their sexual orientation, and their physical features. There were no longer people created in the image of God, but people conformed to the image of the world.
well,
This world created distorted institutions, systems, communities, and governmental agencies that should be helping our people to have a better life.
yes.
But black people are threatened by senseless dehumanization through police brutality. Our society is distorted by racism, social injustices, economic issues, and corrupted legal systems and colonization. Some white people treat black people as if their lives are meaningless and insignificant. And as a race, some of us have adopted those same distorted
Wow.
images
Yes,
of
Lord.
ourselves.
Wow.
We, yes, you and I, need to change the distorted images we
Yes.
have of ourselves. Recognizing that we were all created as image bearers of God and should expect to be treated as such.
That's right.
Yeah.
We must live in community with each other. Today there are many black mothers and fathers in America who have seen their innocent children gunned down by the establishment that was supposed to protect them. We have witnessed systems such as mass incarceration and predatory lending institutions that hinders and enslave our people.
Oh.
We have been denied adequate housing at an affordable price. We have been treated as if we are not a people made in the image of God. Now, over 2,000 years ago, there was another young mother
Come on.
by the name of
Come
Mary,
on. I see you, preacher. Come
who
on.
stood at the foot of the cross
Yeah.
and watched as the image of her young, innocent son, Jesus, distorted body,
Yeah.
hung high for all the world to see.
Preacher.
He was falsely accused, abused, spit on, brutally beaten, crowned with thorns, and if that was not enough, he hung on a cross in the noonday hour for all the world to see. One hand pointed to the right, one hand pointed
Come
to
on
the
now.
left,
Shut up.
I
and
see
his
you.
feet
Come on.
across that.
Come on.
Say it now, Vivian. Make it plain.
Unlike Michael Brown's death, there was something different about Jesus' death. Jesus' death brought life. Jesus' death brought redemption. Jesus' death set a people free. His death was humiliating, but it brought humility and hope to a people because of the sacrifice Jesus made with his life. Through Jesus' death, we can reclaim the image of God that is in each of us. Not just black people, but for all people. It does not matter whether you're black, Latino, or white. We are all expressions of the image of the living God.
That's right.
Jesus' death brought hope to our present day dilemmas. The word reminds us that we are all made in the image of God.
Yes.
It is a very inclusive statement.
Yes.
It includes all of us. The distorted image is a result of sin, and sin does not have the last word.
No.
We have been redeemed by the precious blood of Jesus. We are all children of God, made in God's image. We are God's children now, and what we will be has not yet appeared.
Well.
But we know that when God appears, we shall be like
shall.
God.
All right.
Because we shall see God as God is. And God will see us
All right.
as we were meant to be. In the midst of our distorted world, I want you to know that God sees us clearly.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
When the world say you are worthless, remember that when God look at us, and God will see God's image, God will see God's self.
Yes. Yeah.
Amen.
Glory